Here we are in the same scene, and we will build another advanced shader. Here I hid this sphere both from viewport and render and created this. It's a squashed cube that will represent a tile, since I want to create a realistic shader, so I would rather use tile than a sphere to represent that shader. Okay, first, as always, we will create a new material, apply it, and it's always good practice to name them, so I will name this one tile. And the first and the most common problem is how to create patterns, how to create really realistic random patterns, and for that we will utilize a layer shader. Because when you look at a realistic tile, there is a nice random noise to it, so let's try to mimic something like that. First we will load a layer shader so we can stack our materials, and we will go inside it, and first I will add a gradient. So let's start with that, enter it, and I will create color chips here with Control key, hold down so I can copy them, and I'll basically create a few of these black and white variations here. So something like this, a little bit of black, a little bit of white, and some more black, and maybe more white here, more black here. So it appears somewhat random. Okay, something like this could work. Okay, and if I do a test render here, you will see that it pretty much doesn't look like anything. And let me disable shadows for now. Here under area type I will set to none, so we have a faster and more responsive render. And currently it really doesn't resemble anything looking but tile, but let me just here under gradient shader, I will drop a little turbulence for this gradient, something around 50%, and let's see what we get. And we already have some sort of random pattern to it. And you see this octaves setting, if you put that to maximum value, that is 10, that will just add more detail to those gradients. Okay, I hope you get that. It's more sort of a add more local detail setting. So we can perhaps leave it at 10 because we want to create really nice realistic results. And here under type I can also set it to be in V direction, so it will be going like this. And that's up to you to choose what really looks best to you. Okay? So I think this is decent enough, and I'll go back and create another shader. This time I will add a marble shader because I want to add more detail to this already nice looking surface. So I'll create here under surfaces, there is a marble shader, and currently is on the top of this gradient, and it will completely eat it up. I'll rather set it to multiply mode, so to multiply both values here. So it doesn't look like much happened, but I will just turn the visibility for this one, and you will see here, if I set to normal, what this pattern is really like. So currently it's really too big. I want to make it a little bit smaller. And to make it smaller, you will have to increase the frequency. So let me try something like 2 by 2 by 2 to see what do I get. Something like this could work. So let's go back and enable this guy and set the mode to multiply. So we'll multiply both values. And now we have even more detail, and it looks really random. This is black and white, and if you want black and white tile, that's really good. But if you want to have color, you have to colorize this shader. So you have to use colorize, and you can find it here under effects. You can colorize, and it will colorize based on what is here, this gradient here. So currently set to black, and we really don't want that. So we will create one color chip here. You can just double click and let's leave it to black for now. And on the other end, I'll select this color. I experimented prior to this recording, so really not to waste time on searching the right color that fits me. So I'll just do something like this. Well, it looks decent enough. Maybe I'll go more here in the green value. So it's a little bit more green than dark. Or even not. Let me undo that. I even want to add one more layer to this. And that will be that fine little dots that you can find on ceramic tiles. And I will load a simple noise shader for that. And prior to doing that, it's best to turn the visibility off for both guys, so you can really see what you are doing and what you are getting on each channel. So I'll load a noise here. And you can see it's currently too big. Let me enter it and decrease this global scale to something like maybe 10%. Maybe even some more, maybe 5%. I really want to have detailed small noise. Well, something like this could work. And also want to increase the contrast so I don't have so many gray values. So I can maybe do a minus 50% here. Now it's a little bit overly dimmed, which is exactly what I want. And let's drop it here under our hierarchy. So first I want a gradient, then the marble, then I want the noise. I will disable that noise for now and see the effect that I will get if I enable it. Now it eats up both of these guys, and I have to set another mode for it. So if I go to multiply, it kind of does the trick, but you have to experiment with this one. For example, this difference guy with really tuned down effect of this, let's say something like maybe 30. So the overall strength of this noise would be a little bit lower. It really gives me nice results. I think that's it for our color values, and let me disable the render since I will be using displacement on this guy. Let me just delete it so you can actually see what I'm doing. I want to add more subdivisions on this object, so I would have to use a less number of subpolygon displacements. So effectively I will decrease the render time. So let me go to my edge mode, and I always prefer manually subdividing, because if I do a subdivide now, for example 3 subdivisions, I will get so many information here that is not needed, and I don't want that. I really want just to add on these surfaces. So I will do a ring selection and add 1, 2, maybe even one more, and also on here I will add, let's say something like this. I'm just hitting connect command, so it will add a new edge loop right in the middle. It's a really useful function, so I avoided having too much geometry on this little part here. What I also want to do, I want to fill this selection and create a selection for these faces, because I really don't want that shader to be applied to the sides. I want it to be applied only on this top part. So I'll set a new selection here under selection, set selection, and you will see it here, and I can drop my shader right on it, and it will be only on that top surface. So let's see what we get with preview render, something like this. And marble tiles are reflective, so I will add a reflection, but this brightness eats object completely, so I will load a free null shader here. So it doesn't look like much because the surface is currently flat, but I want to add some realistic bumps based on this layer here. I could use that layer in bump channel and get decent results. or create a normal map, which we will discuss later and use it here, but the best results are always, without doubt, in any situation, are here in displacement channel. So let me simply right click and copy this whole layer and put it in a displacement channel like this, and you can instantly see the change. And from experience, I know this height of 5 centimeters will be too much. I will rather go with something really small, like 1. Let me do a subpolygon displacements, and I can hopefully use as a little subdivisions level here, because they really add to render time. And I don't want to round the geometry, since this tile has to stay in cubic shape. Let's see what we get now. And we get a really high displacement, just as I expected. And we will tune down this to something like 0.1. So we have somewhat better results, and you can see now the Fresnel effect is really getting up to speed, since there is a lot of indentations in surface and so on and so forth. We add, for example, 2 more subdivisions, so I will subdivide the surface even more. Okay, something like this. It's really coming along nicely. And maybe even 7. Let's try 7 to see if we can get that nice detail here. This strength looks like a bit too much, so I will drop it to 50% and see what we get. So we'll just give it a second, it renders, and it looks really nice. And there you go, you have a really nice, decent ceramic tile. For example, here in displacement, there is no need for color values here, so you can really delete this without any fear, and then even effects of this grayscale shaders will become more pronounced. So let me show you that. So you see there is a more and more detail appearing here. So now we could even experiment with those colors and shaders. For example, let's right click on this gradient and select invert and see what we get. We will get completely different, the opposite results in that pattern. Okay, something like this. Let's undo that. Maybe we will increase this to 50%, this difference, and we will say we will get completely different result. Okay, now see, so it's a matter of experimenting. You will have to find the right value. Okay, so let me drop this bit here, something like this. You will have to find what works for you. What do you find pleasing? For example, we can play with this gradient, so it can be circular, so we get somewhat different result in pattern. So anything that works for you.